Kelly is working from the Interpersonal Communications Manual, project number 2, The Successful Negotiator. Martha, as his evaluator, could you read his objectives, please?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Kelly's objectives are to employ a win-win negotiation strategies to achieve his goals, to enjoy the benefits of win-win negotiating, to apply vocal techniques that will aid in the effectiveness of the reading. I don't quite understand that. And the time is 10 to 14.
We've got it covered. It's going to be 12 to 15.
All right.
And Kelly has agreed.
Okay. Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay. Today, Kelly Smith, working with Steve, is going to be showing us his negotiation skills. As someone who is involved in business consulting and sales for a career, and also heavily involved in work through his church, I know that Kelly has the need to hone his negotiating skills, and this is going to give Kelly an opportunity to carry his negotiating skills to the next level. Let's give a warm Toastmaster welcome to Kelly Smith.
Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. How many of you have ever been a little bit nervous going into a negotiation meeting? Some of you haven't, that's good. Let me tell you about an experience I had some years ago. I had a partner that together we'd purchased a very large, expensive piece of printing equipment, $650,000. My partner put up the 10% down for this equipment, and we ran it. The company who manufactured it, produced in Israel, sent a technician to install it, and he did something incorrect, and it never did work right. We had it in the contract that if the printer didn't work as specified, we could send it back and get our money back. So we had problems with it from day one. After the first 4 months went past, we still had problems, and they get us another 4 months. At the end of that, my partner said, I'm out. I can't do this. Now that was a problem for me because I built my company around printing these large things, large banners and murals. Trying to find some way to save this for myself, for my company, and also give my partner his money back. I didn't have the money to give him for it. So I flew down to Los Angeles and met with this corporation, a worldwide company. And I went into this meeting. There's a large round table, and there were 9 people from the company and me. Several of these were attorneys. I was a bit nervous, to say the least, going into this negotiation. I gave him the scenario. I told him, listen, I've helped you sell about 6 machines across the country. It has not worked as performed. I propose that you give my partner his money back. You let me keep the machine. I'll make payments on the machine, but I don't have the 10% down. The good and bad of it is they did give my partner his $65,000 back. About 2 months later, they came and picked up the machine, and I didn't get to keep it. So part of it worked and part of it didn't. But I'm here to tell you it was a very nervous situation for me. So what we want to do is discuss negotiations. You're all going to be involved in some kind of negotiation with your family, with your kids, with your boss, with a customer or something. So I want to talk about the 3 main things about negotiation. There's win-win, is what we always try to do. Everybody wins. Win-lose is where somebody wins and somebody loses. We don't like that. And the worst of all is lose-lose, where both of you lose because of something. We definitely don't want to go there at all. So here's how we're going to do and create a win-win situation. There's 3 things you need to know. The first is, what is your position? What is it that you need or want or desire or plan for? Suppose you're going to expand your business. You want to move into the building next door. You're having a disagreement with your spouse about where to go on vacation. You want to ask your boss about a pay raise, something. You've got to figure out what it is exactly what you want, why you want it, and you've got to know the reasons for that. The second thing you need to know is what does the opposition? What is the person you're talking to, what is their position? What are the things that they need? And so you want to think about this and come up with as many ideas and solutions about that. It may take a little bit of research to figure out what that is. But the more research you can do, the better you're going to find out what they have or what they need. And you need to empathize with them. You're going to want to build rapport with them. You don't just come in there barging in, give them the proposal. You got to build some rapport and empathy with them. Also, don't judge them. They may make a statement in the first, like, that's the weirdest thing I ever heard. You don't want to do that because there may be a very important reason for it or something very personal. So don't judge them about that. They also need to know your position. You've got to make it clear what it is you want, because they need to empathize with you also. But don't overdo it, and don't try to show that my need is greater than yours. That isn't the point. But they do have to understand what it is. All right, the last thing the next thing to make this a win-win scenario is that you need to explore as many options as possible. Some of these options are going to come up in the discussion. You may not know them at first, you may have all your research, you may find some things, but you're going to find some that come out in the discussion. So here's the thing, you want to lead the discussion and build rapport. Build some kind of friendly rapport with them one-on-one, ask them about personal things, whatever, get on a nice friendly basis. Start off friendly. Keep the discussion in a win-win mode. You just got to keep that in mind at all times. I'm willing to give up something in order to get something that I want. So you'd want to offer them one of your suggestions. Here's what I suggest we do. What do you think about that? And let them talk. Let them have the say for a while and give some of their ideas. Now, don't make them appear to concede or lose ever. You don't want them to, cower down. You don't want them to make them feel like they're losing at any time. And make them feel that they are really winning by accepting this proposal. That it's going to be good for them. Point it out that that's what's going to happen. If they have other options, make sure and listen to them. They're going to have a good idea. And you may find that in this conversation, that something will pop out that may be the solution you're looking for. Maybe not what you thought of in the first place, but be open to that. Okay? Now, if something comes up that just isn't going to work, you're going to have to say, I'm sorry, I'm not willing to negotiate on that. But I will negotiate on this. So make it clear what it is your stance is and the things that you need. Now, let's talk about some negotiating tips. First of all, I mentioned break the ice. Talk, build rapport with them, become friends with them, talk with them in a good manner. Use statements that begin with I, or talk about yourself. I would really like you to consider this, or this would really help me out. Something like that. Now, be honest and direct. Don't ever, under any circumstances, try to trick them. Some people go into negotiations slyly and try to figure out, okay, here's a way I can weasel this guy out of some money or something. That's not going to work. It will never work. It'll ruin your reputation. It will not be a good scenario. Show appreciation. You want to appreciate that they've done something. They've listened to you. They've accepted this. If they accept your proposal or you come up with some kind of thing, tell them, thank you very much for accepting this idea. Also, stick to the issue. Don't get wandered off on some topic that doesn't really point or mean anything to anybody. You want to make sure that we're going down the same path. And there's an important element of timing your discussion. Now, it's kind of a fact that human beings are more alert and alive and prepared earlier in the morning. If you try to do something in the afternoon, after lunch, their mind's kind of shut down, like some of you are kind of sloping like this. You may not be as open to negotiations or critical thinking in the afternoon. I recommend you in the morning. Okay, so to show you a demonstration of how this works, I've asked Steve to come up, and I'm going to try to. Steve owns a software company. He's very successful. He's a very busy man, and I want to sell him a marketing system, marketing program. So, Steve, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Smith.
Good to see you. How's everything?
Oh, it's going wonderful. Good, wonderful. Good year.
Don't you have a daughter getting married soon?
She's talking about it, but she has an idea of something so elaborate that her mother and I aren't buying into her financial scheme with you.
Yeah, I know what that's like. I got one kind of doing the same thing. So it's a tough thing to go that.
It's a tough lot on the parents.
How's business?
Well, it's been a good year, like I said here. We're trying some new ideas out here, but I don't know. It's kind of like fishing. Fishing's nothing really but lying and killing fish, right? We're just trying to get some new customers, trying to expand a good idea out there, and everyone's all paranoid. I think it's to do with the recession.
There's a lot of people in the same boat as you. I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of them are doing a similar thing. You know, I have a marketing system, and so when I emailed over to you about that, and I want to talk about that system. I know it's a little bit, you know, some people may think it's kind of pricey, but it'll cost you $10,000 a month for about 3 months, and then we'll take about 5% of whatever we bring in. So you're doing about $5 million a year. So if we bring in $6 million, you know, another $1 million, we'll take 5% of that $1 million. Now, this is a system. It's, you know, it's going to free you up. You won't have to worry about how to market your business. You can have people, salespeople that are trained in how to do it, how to make the sales, and it'll free you up to spend more time on working on your business. You won't have to worry about this side of things.
I heard the spiel. I appreciate those high points. Are very attractive. Just that our investments are spread out. So spreading out and trying to stimulate some markets. And I don't have that kind of capital. But I was thinking more of a percentage of our sales profits. You know.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, if your plan is really working for us, we should see some effect on our bottom line.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give you 30% of what our profits are. So if your plan's working, then your percentage will be big. If your plan's a stinker, could be nothing.
Well, I'm not really willing to negotiate on that one because that puts all the risk on us. We have 3 to 5 months of work that we would spend all this time developing, and we're not sure what would happen at the end of that 3 to 5 months. So that wouldn't work for us very well. Okay, money's an object. You've got all kinds of expenses going on, other things happening. What if we did this? Instead of $10,000 a month, what if we did $5,000 a month for like 6 months, and we'll take a little higher percentage at the end, maybe 8% or something. Something like that would be better.
So it'll be lower coming in,
Yes.
only for 6 months.
Yes.
And then the percentage after that.
Yeah, it'll be a little higher because we're going lower at the beginning. So we'll just make it up on the back end.
I get a lot of ideas coming across my desk.
Yeah, I know.
Some, these Harvard Business School graduates, they're really bachelor degree and pushing baloney. If you're sure of your ideas here, I'll give you a chance for this 6 months.
Okay.
But after that, we'll switch it to 8%. Is that agreeable with you?
Because it'll be all built, it'll be ready to go.
And you feel confident that
I
at
am.
that 6 month point, that 8% will be hugely beneficial.
Yes, very much so.
I like it.
Thank you very much. All right. We want to open this up for a little bit of a discussion for just a couple minutes to ask anything of either Steve or I, if you want to come back up here, about the whole negotiation process, and if anything you learned or thought would be better or anything. Any questions?
Should have held out for 7%.
Yes, Martha.
Steve, did you really believe that he had a daughter that also was thinking about getting married?
No,
Is
he has,
that-
I know he has
I
sons here. But surely that's a tangential to the subject. Yeah.
Well, no, I know that he was trying to build rapport, and so I just wondered if you really.
I didn't spend enough time on that. No.
Maybe not.
No. But I do have a daughter getting married next month. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Kelly, what's your technique, or when do you know it's just not going to work? And then how do you end that conversation or end the meeting? Like you said, still friendly, but it's just not going to work out. So let's end the meeting.
Has anybody else run into that? Run into negotiation that's just not, you realize you're not going to make it?
Yes.
Right.
That's how I hurt my hand.
Got a million stories.
The fact is, you're not going to win every time, but if you go into that and somebody capitulates too far, somebody's going to lose. We don't ever want that. You want win-win every time. So you may not make a win-win scenario with everyone you want to do this with. Just know that you can't win them all. But you don't wanna go out of there that either they win and you lose, or you win and they lose. That'll never work. Maybe for the moment, but for long term, it's always bad.
No sense closing the door. You know, it could open up again
Yep.
a year or
Correct.
two later.
I think that the burn the bridges thing, well,
Mhm.
obviously we have nothing in common, and
Yeah.
that would be no good. But if you
Right.
say that, I can see at this point you can't give me the things I need, and I'm not willing to bend as far as you, so maybe we'll reattempt these negotiations at a time when our needs are different and like more compatible. That's a good point. Don't burn the bridges.
Kim?
I thought it was interesting that you didn't delay on giving pricing and how much things will cost. So is there a rule that you do, like you say a little bit first and then you give the price and then you say more? Because I find a lot of people will do this big sales pitch and the number's so big at the other end that it was just completely worthless to hear that whole thing.
Right.
You know, so what's the rule, you think?
I don't know if I have an exact rule on that. In this case, I had already emailed him a lot of our proposal and stuff, so he knew what was going on. I'd already done that
With pricing?
with pricing.
Oh, okay, all
And I
right.
just wanted to come here and negotiate that. In a sales presentation, I think that would be better a sales seminar or something, maybe not a negotiation thing exactly, but I think that's more of a sales question you're asking. I like to get to it fairly quickly. I wanna give them something to deal with, something to chew on, and then I don't wanna wait for an hour, wear them down before they, okay, fine, we heard, get out of here.
When I was at Fleur, they trained us in the same thing, negotiating on refinery designs and things like that. And it was always that you wanted to lead on a friendly basis. If you see that you're gonna not get that project, a lot of times what we would do is we would provide them with our bid breakdown so that they could see where our numbers came from, to do a more detailed check
Yeah.
of the competitor. And sometimes when they got into the numbers, they'd see that the competitor was leaving things out. And 2 months later, they're back knocking on our door saying, hey, we wanna talk to you because we know that someplace down the road, they're gonna be asking for these things. So you never close the doors, you always keep them open.
Well, the red light's on. Appreciate this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Steve.